I don't want to, I'm not, I'm not denying guilt, and I'm not saying that I'm.
It all started with the very popular TLC show 19 Kids and Counting. Could you imagine having 18 brothers and sisters?
Jim's way or the highway. The entire family submits to Jim Bob and follows his orders.
Now, little ones don't sit on big boys' laps or people that you don't know, or even family members, unless it's your daddy.
I would be terrified that I was going to be killed in a car accident if I was in a car that was playing that music.
The famous parents of 19 Kids and Counting have been less transparent about a little thing called education.
Joshua was actually 14 and just turned 15 when he did what he did. The legal definition is 16 and up for being an adult preying on a child.
Several underage girls as a teen, and after being linked to 2 Ashley Madison accounts, he confessed to cheating on his wife.
He was tossing me around like a rag doll.
Why would a man who helped build a multi-million-dollar TV empire play so fast and loose with family values?
This has been pretty crazy.
Josh Duggar was recently sentenced to over 12 years in prison.
Did you ever worry that the treatment didn't work, especially with so many young children in the house?
No, Josh was a changed person.
Everybody makes their own decisions and everybody makes their own choices, but they're not the only ones that suffer the consequences.
Picture this. You're staring at a blank page in front of you, knowing that the words you're about to write will change your entire future. Your hands are shaking, so you take a deep breath. You have to get this letter right. There is no room for error. So you close your eyes for a moment and think about all of the people who are counting on you. Your family, your friends, your husband are all depending on what you write. So you open your eyes and begin. You write of the good deeds, the kind acts, the money spent to help others in need and caring for your innocent children, hoping that there is enough there to counter any wrongdoing and the scales of justice will lean in your favor. And as you write, you convince yourself that you're correct. But what you don't see is what everyone else does, that you've been brainwashed, gaslit for countless years into believing that you must, without question, stand by and support the most heinous, most insidious acts committed by your husband, because in your world, you've been made to believe that men are righteous and to be worshipped no matter what awful crimes they commit. And you were born to serve them. And there's a dark and evolving pattern of behavior and a family system that has been built to protect that lie, a system that you're now part of and feeding into with this desperate letter that you're writing. So who are you? You're Josh Duggar's wife, and you are writing a letter pleading for leniency to the judge who's about to sentence him for 12.5 years for the most vile JPEGs and movie files of children downloaded from the dark web. Now, in hindsight, everyone saw this coming with the continued escalation of Josh's behavior for decades, but your family has always protected Josh, never his victims, even when they were his own sisters. And so you were left leaning on a dark faith in a convolution of religion that has been tainted by protecting men, disregarding women and children. And this is what we know. Oh, hi there. Hello, hello, hi. It's my face again. Swoop, 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 swoop. Thanks for singing along with me. All right, so the Duggars. They are famous for having a reality TV show centered around their huge and controversial immediate family consisting of Jim Bob, Michelle, and their 19 biological and 1 adopted children. Now, while they project a wholesome religious image, what they have produced is, in actuality, incredibly horrifying, which can be seen directly via their son Josh Duggar, who is currently serving 12 years and 7 months in federal prison for underage corn, we have to call it, with a healthy side of inappropriately touching, wait for it, his own sisters during their upbringing, and also cheating on his wife through the very public Ashley Madison leak. It's a lot. Oh, and did I mention there are 19 kids and counting. So today we're gonna take a look at why the Duggars say what they believe they stand for is so good and so righteous when they literally created a monster. But first, before we get into that, hi, welcome. If you're seeing me for the first time, hello. I make documentaries and short films on unsolved cases, true crime, and social media influencers influencers who abuse their power and manipulate audiences because, as I always say, it's not drama, it's dangerous. We also dig deeper into the root psychology, and sometimes, y'all, we take it to Petty University, okay? We got her in all her greenness glory today. Y'all know Petty is my love language. It is my coping mechanism for the bullshit. If you want to join the Petty University community, welcome, and you can grab your exclusive Petty University apparel. The shop is linked below as always. All right, real quick, and then we're going to dive right in. A huge thank you to today's sponsor, Raycon, who makes absolutely amazing earbuds that I use every day. So I don't know about you, but I am tired. Seriously, I am tired of the same old ruts that I have been stuck in, and finding motivation to switch it up is sometimes a struggle, you know what I mean? But that's exactly what my Raycon everyday earbuds have helped me to do, to switch things up, and it's been amazing. So Raycon is premier audio at the perfect price point so you can build great habits without breaking the bank. Whether you're looking for a pair of everyday earbuds like I have, low latency gaming headphones, or a speaker with a battery that will last all night at your next party or just when you're unwinding, Raycon's got you covered. I love these babies so much. I actually use my Raycon everyday earbuds all the time, child. Like, I've found that listening to my favorite podcasts in the morning while going on a walk or just doing some tidying up around the house before jumping into a long day of work really helps boost my mood and keeps me motivated throughout the day. And because they have super long battery life with 8 hours of playtime and a case that holds up to 32 hours of charge, they stay with me through the entire day. And I can control everything with a simple touch, whether it's easily switching tracks, taking my calls with crystal clear sound, or turning down the volume when it's time to chill. Everything is literally right there. I don't even need to touch my phone. And one of my favorite parts is how ridiculously comfortable they are, and they do not fall out no matter how active I am. And they have passive noise isolation, blocking out background noise, making it so much easier to focus on what I am doing. And the best part of all, Raycons start at half the price of other premium audio brands, and every purchase has an easy and free return guarantee, so there is no risk. That is the reason why Raycon's everyday earbuds have over 50,000 5-star reviews. So if you're ready to switch it up and boost your productivity and your happiness, click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/swoop to get 15% off your Raycon purchase and treat yourself, honey. You deserve it. Okay, back to the doc.
He was the one that came and shared on his own. I think as parents, we felt, we're failures. You know, here we tried to raise our kids.
Let us first meet the Duggars. So James Robert Duggar was born on July 18th, 1965 in Springdale, Arkansas, but literally no one calls him that. It's Jim Bob. Jim Bob Duggar, you know, the kind of name that evokes a good old like yeehaw and somehow makes it less surprising that he has 19 children with the same wife, because you know, Jim Bob be Jim Bobbin in the streets. And, you know, also bobbing and weaving through all these family scandals. Oh, okay, sorry. My pettiness it's gonna be a lot today, okay? Anyways, Jim Bob met Michelle Annette Ruark when Jim Bob was 18 years old and Michelle was just 16 at a church in Arkansas. They were married on July 21st, 1984, and have been pumping out children at a rapid pace ever since their first child, Joshua, was born on March 3rd, 1998. And up until their youngest child, Josie, was born on December 10th, 2009. And there were 17 others in between. I'm telling y'all, a bitch just be pregnant for like 20 years. I mean, I don't even know how you do that, but like, it's an accomplishment. Now, fun fact, all of their names start with the letter J. So, I'm gonna try to do this all in one breath. Here we go. Joshua, Jana, John David, Jill, Jessa, Ginger, Joseph, Josiah, Joe, and... up. Joshua, Jana, John David, Jill, Jessa, Ginger, Joseph, Josiah, Joy, Anna, Jedediah, Jeremiah, Jason, James, Justin, Jackson, Jonathan, Johanna, Jennifer, Jordan, Grace, and Josie. I'm never doing that again. Ever. So, the Duggars started off in Springdale, Arkansas, but moved to Tauntontown, Arkansas. Tauntontown? That's a place? Yeah, Tauntontown, that's a place. So Tauntontown, Arkansas, where they began their television career on September 29th, 2004 on the Discovery Health Channel with a documentary titled 14 Children and Pregnant Again. They had 2 more hour-long documentaries before the start of their hit show 19 Kids and Counting in 2008 and the spin-off Counting On in 2015. So the Duggar children have been on TV for a while. whopping like 16 years. Okay, we're just gonna call it 16 years.
Could you imagine having 18 brothers and sisters?
No.
Well, that is part of the reason America became so intrigued with the show 19 Kids and Counting.
So TLC, or what used to be the Learning Channel, did y'all know that? Because I didn't. Yeah, the Learning Channel started as a network that would produce and air educational content like you would see when your middle school science class had a substitute teacher for the day. But over time they realized that they could make more money with reality TV shows, treading the line of exploitation with shows like Toddlers and Tiaras, John and Kate plus 8, Breaking Amish, Gypsy Sisters, Sister Wives, Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, and of course, 19 and Counting. Now, for obvious reasons, they dropped the Learning Channel title and just go by TLC, which I don't know, bitch, apparently now stands for truly low content. Okay, I just... Y'all, I'm sorry. Professor Petty is just like bubbling up in me so much. She came to class early. Anyways, 19 Kids and Counting was a highly acclaimed, fan-adored reality TV show that graced our screens for a mind-blowing 229 episodes over 10 seasons before it was canceled in 2015 after it had come to light that the eldest child, Josh Duggar, had inappropriately touched 4 of his sisters and a babysitter over a decade prior.
How did you first learn that there was a problem with Josh?
He was the one that came and shared on his own. I think as parents, we felt, we're failures. Here we tried to raise our kids to do what's right, to know what's right.
But TLC wasn't done with the Duggars, so, apparently that's not enough, and the parents knowing about it and all that. No, we don't need to just cancel the family for good. No, let's just move that to the side. It's whatever, it's just for his siblings, it's okay, they don't matter anyways. So yeah, TLC wasn't done with the Duggars. They just needed to appease the public who were disgusted that TLC had platformed and employed this problematic individual. So they simply rebranded the show as Counting On, because God knows parents had no responsibility and what happened there, but we'll get to that. So yeah, Counting On, which was supposed to be focused on 2 of the Duggar daughters. Duggar daughters, say that 10 times fast. Duggar daughter, Duggars, can't do it. All right, moving on. But really, it was just the same show as before, minus Josh. So I don't know, it's 18 and counting or whatever. And this went on for 96 more episodes over 11 more seasons. Y'all, when I think about this kind of stuff, it's y'all ain't got any other body you can cast for a reality show. Now, the show centered around the projected wholesome lives of the Duggars, who are ultra-conservative, devout, independent Baptists who constantly remind viewers of their values of purity, modesty, and their faith in God.
Yes. Well, our goal is to have a godly home where we raise our children to love the Lord and to serve each other and to have servants' hearts, and for them to realize that the world doesn't revolve around them.
The parents, Jim, Bob, and Michelle, believe that to keep their family wholesome, they must control what their children are exposed to. And so the Duggar children were kept away from many forms of entertainment, such as movies, television, and the devil's music. Literally, pretty much all music is the devil's music, especially if it has drums. Now, the girls... I'm smiling and laughing through much of this because it just disgusts me so much, but the girls were forbidden to wear pants, ever. Still. And the Duggars practiced the art of chaperoned courtship, where couples can only interact with one another in a group setting. There's no front hugging, which I guess means there's only side hugging is allowed. Oh, and the paperwork in order to court, to date one of the daughters. Let's talk about the paperwork, because nothing screams romance quite like a 50-page questionnaire written by your dad, Jim Bob, who's over there Jim Bobbin, to be filled out by your suitor. Can you imagine? So of the 19 kids, there's 9 daughters, 10 sons. The Duggars are all members of the Institute in Basic Life Principles and the homeschooling program Advanced Training Institute, or ATI, both of which were founded by Bill Gothard, who is a giant piece of shit that we will get into in more detail in a little bit. Now, the Duggars, as y'all can imagine, avoid things like birth control, instead opting to leave the number of children they have to a higher power, to God. This has led people to believe that they are associated with the quiverful movement, which promotes strict family conformity, male hierarchies, and subservient roles for women. But the Duggars insist that they are not associated with this movement, which is odd because they literally use the same Bible verse to justify their unusually large family that the quiverful movement is based on. Psalm 127, verse 3 through 5. Sons are a heritage from the Lord, children a reward from him. Like arrows in the hands of a warrior are sons born in one's youth. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. Now listen, y'all know me, okay? I'm not here to criticize or judge someone's faith or religion. I have my own spirituality and beliefs. It's not at all about that. I think that respecting other people's beliefs, healthy beliefs, is important to generate a healthy society. But if those beliefs are abusive, then Auntie Swoop gonna come for your ass, okay? I'm just... Oh, and I almost forgot, the Duggars also contribute and appear and have written articles for and been interviewed many times on quiverful websites, which is what, you know, I always do for movements that I publicly declare I am not a part of. But question, is there more to the quiverful movement than just not using birth control and having a big family as God allows? As it turns out, yes, there is, of course. A key tenet of the belief system is that women are responsible for men's sexual reactions to them. It has been common to hold women responsible for men's sexuality and choices, whether by accusing women of causing men to stumble because of how they dress, or accusing wives of causing their husbands' affairs because they didn't satisfy them. Gee. They sound like a fun bunch. You know, it's just nothing like blaming women for every thing possible. Yeah, oh, she got assaulted? Well, what was she wearing though? Oh, husband cheated on her? But I mean, like, was she like, did she get on her knees enough? Anyways, I digress. We will soon find out that this is another principle the Duggars live by, and is also a huge part of that institute in basic life principles, which they do publicly declare they are a part of. So the dangerous expectations placed on women within the Duggar household sadly do have consequences, and we will see those play out in the rest of this doc. But I also want to touch on the coercive control aspect of this type of family hierarchy, with the male dominant, female subservient family structure and lack of education for the many children in quiverful families, and the strict access or flat out denial of outside literature and entertainment, not to mention the limited career and life opportunities for the women. These family dynamics check off a lot of boxes of the psychological abuse checklist, specifically in regards to things like coercive control, which we will get into a little bit later.
Yes. Well, our goal is to have a godly home where we raise our children to love the Lord and to serve each other and to have servants' hearts, and for them to realize that the world doesn't revolve around them.
Now, I mentioned earlier about the psychological abuse that is coercive control. And as I've been speaking about the Duggars, I want you to kind of keep this tucked away in your mind as the story continues to unfold, but also just as like a little sidebar moment for if any of you feel like this might be something that you are experiencing. I always think it's a good idea that we learn about these things so that we know how to identify potential risk factors or harm that's happening in our own lives or people that we know and love. So for a quick definition, coercive control is effectively controlling behavior, either a one-off act or a pattern of acts by an abuser, which takes away another person's freedom and ability to have a positive sense of self-worth. This results in the victim feeling more dependent on the abuser, which then creates an ongoing cycle of controlling abuse. In this way, coercive control creates an invisible chain which further oppresses the victim. According to the Women's Aid, coercive control works to limit a person's human rights by depriving them of their liberty and reducing their ability for action similar to being taken hostage. Now, there are a number of warning signs that you or someone you know might be in an emotionally abusive relationship by means of coercive control. And so again, just so we're all aware, in case you have any concerns about your own relationships, I will say number one, always trust your gut. Those little small voices that we have, they're usually saying something as a warning sign. So here are some of the signs of coercive control. Isolating you from your support system, monitoring your activity throughout the day, denying you freedom and autonomy, gaslighting, name-calling, limiting your access to money, that's a big one, reinforcing traditional gender roles, another big one, turning your kids against you, controlling your health and body, jealousy, regulating your sexual relationships, and threatening you. So if you think that you might be experiencing this type of psychological abuse and coercive control, please first don't panic. There are people available to help you. If you can safely do things like, it's recommended to keep a journal of what's happening and also to reach out to a safe and trusted friend or family member. If you don't feel like you have someone that you trust, you can reach out anonymously to the National Domestic Abuse Hotline at 800-799-7233, or you can text the word START to 88788 to get the support that you need. Coercive control is often considered a crime. You do have options. There are people to help you plan a safe escape if that is what you want, only when you're ready, but just keep this stuff in mind. That's all I ask. So, sorry, I know that there was a sidebar, but I think it's important, and I think it is a crucial element to the Duggar family story. And I think that men like this often hide behind the veil of religion, thinking that either it absolves them from their abusive ways or it hides them from speculation. But there is a pervasiveness of coercive control in some strict religions and cults where we've seen a long-standing history of men having dominance over their wives, and particularly their daughters, again, by keeping the wives pregnant and the daughters having to care for the children and doing this around the clock so that they have difficulty doing things for themselves, like developing a career or having friends or even hobbies, because they're forced to stay at home with controlled finances that the husband's in charge of and raise a bajillion children. It's not always the case, but it happens a lot more than you even want to know.
From the time they're small, though, we try to get the young ones to even carry their own weight. It might be throwing away a diaper, or it might be that when they're big enough to carry out a trash bag, to take it out and...
The word parentification describes what happens when the roles of parent and child are reversed. Consequently, this role reversal disrupts the natural process of child development. In most cases, it has far-reaching negative effects on the child's mental and physical health. Jim Bob was working full-time and often not at home, while Michelle was left home alone to care for 12 kids and counting. I'm not a parent myself, but I hear parents say that one child is a monstrous amount of work. So imagine 12, that's a classroom that you're dealing with 24 hours a day. And that's part of the coercive control that, we were talking about. In the Duggar belief system, or the Institute in Basic Life Principles, or the Quiverful movement, a woman must fully submit, must have S whenever the husband wants, have as many children as the husband or God desires, and she is left to care for them virtually alone. And when she can't do that, she has the other kids take care of the kids raising kids. In the Duggar household, Michelle would breastfeed the youngest children, and then as soon as they were old enough to eat on their own, I'm not joking, they would be passed on to an older sibling who would then tend to their needs, essentially becoming the younger sibling's parents as soon as they could eat like a little mushy food, while the older sibling is still a developing child themselves. Now, eventually the clan got so large that the oldest four daughters, Jana, Jessa, Ginger, and Jill, were put in charge of a whole group of young Duggars.
From the time they're small, though, we try to get the young ones to even carry their own weight. It might be throwing away a diaper, or it might be that when they're big enough to carry out a trash bag, to take it out and to take it out.
And because we have a lot of kiddos, it works out fun in the fact that they can have a team now. We've got buddy teams. And so like there might be an older one teamed up with a few younger ones. And so the older one may do the major work in their jurisdiction, like the kitchen, for instance. They'll do the glass dishes and putting things in the oven, but the younger ones on their team will help them peel or scrub potatoes or open up the cans and bring all the supplies in for the food when they're preparing a meal. And they have fun getting to be a part of all that jurisdiction.
Awesome.
So they're learning, and the older ones get the fun of getting to mentor them and teach them. And they say you really learn when you teach.
Let me phrase that another way for Michelle real quick. Parentification is a form of child abuse, and when the kids are expected to take on adult responsibilities from a very young age, children, such as caring for their younger siblings, cooking and cleaning and managing the household and education, this leaves them with little time for childhood experiences and can cause serious emotional distress and developmental issues. You name it, throw the book at it, basically, because it can just, wow, it can do a lot of harm. Additionally, the children are subjected to a strict and oppressive religious and moral code, which can lead to feelings of shame, guilt, and low self-esteem. And furthermore, with all this, the kids are under constant scrutiny and pressure to conform to their parents' expectations, which can lead to a lack of individuality and creativity and a feeling of not being able to be themselves. Like, this is a prime example of how parentification can have a damaging impact on a child's development. Like, it is heartbreaking to think of the level of abuse these kids might be going through, and it is crucial, I think, that we recognize the harm that is being caused and call it what it is, abuse, you know? As the abuse builds up, we need to look at not only how the Duggars run their household, but also their unhealthy relationship with reality TV, because although the Duggar children are not allowed to consume reality TV, they are forced by Jim Bob to be consumed by it. Because once Jim Bob be bobbing his bobbing little bitch Bob around here got a taste for the reality TV show Spotlight and the paycheck that came along with it, the cameras roll. Let's keep the cameras rolling no matter what. Don't worry about the kids' development. It's fine. They don't need privacy. What is that? I don't know. Never heard of her. For example, their 19th child, Josie, who was buddy systemed up to Jennifer, aka parentification at work. Josie suffered a seizure while in Jana's care, and the parents were out of town. So how do we know this? Because it was the sizzling, dramatic opening scene to the 19 Kids and Counting episode that aired on April 28th, 2015. Grandma and Jana frantically called paramedics while the TLC film crew stood there filming everything.
I'm gonna call you.
Scout. And trying to help keep Josie alive.
She just took
Now you know I have thoughts about TLC. Y'all, why are you filming this? Like, what if something really bad happened? And last time I checked, having a seizure is a pretty bad thing. So, you know, and then beyond that, they decided to put this child's seizure on the show for the world to see, and it's now emblazoned all over the internet forever. Cool, 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 cool. Honestly, you, San Diego.
Go yourself, San Diego.
And you, TLC.
And for the children to know that they have a safe place to share their heart is priceless, and that we're not going to make whatever they tell us a prayer request at church next week.
Who I don't even know at this time is maybe 3 or 4 years old. He's got his hands clasped like he's like, I don't even know what he's doing with his hands, over his knee and in front of her. And I'm thinking about the interview where Michelle said, we don't have the little ones sitting on the big boys' laps.
We don't let boys babysit. We don't let, they don't play hide and seek. Little ones don't sit on big boys' laps or people that you don't know, or even family members, unless it's your daddy.
Okay, now we need to shift focus to Josh Duggar, the eldest son and the biggest piece of shit. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, I'm trying to bring you all of the details, but my pettiness abounds today. I just don't like Josh, okay? And you're gonna find out why. You probably already know. Now, Josh was 17 years old when the Duggars first hit the TV screen, when TLC did a couple of hour-long documentaries on them before they launched the weekly show. And what TLC didn't learn until later was that just 3 years before, Josh had molested 4 of his sisters when he was 14 years old. Yes. 4 of his sisters. And among the disturbing things he did was touching them in their sleep. And he confessed this to his parents, and the Duggars used this as an opportunity to kind of brag, talking about how their parenting style is so great because they want their children to feel safe to come to them and tell them about anything, just as long as you know you're not safe in your own sleep.
And for the children to know that they have a safe place to share their heart is priceless, and that we're not going to make whatever they tell us a prayer request at church next week. Sure. And for them to know that they can share anything with us and that we won't be shocked, but that we'll pray with them, we love them no matter what they've done, or maybe they've had a friend kind of influence them the wrong way. And it's just so important for them to know that they can talk to mom and dad anytime. That's awesome. That's awesome.
So, well, this seems to be true because Josh came to them and told them that he inappropriately handled his sisters at least 3 times. 3 different times he came to his parents and told them this has happened at least 3 different times. Which shows that Josh knew what he was doing was wrong at the time. And 3 different times, Mommy Dearest and Daddy Darling essentially were like, meh. No big. Because as we follow the timeline, we will learn that Jim Bob and Michelle's priority is to protect their son Josh over protecting their daughters. In fact, one of the daughters told Jim Bob about it first, but he did nothing until Josh himself came to Jim Bob and confessed. Awesome. Jim Bob Bitch Bobbin over here disciplined Josh, but we don't even know what that means. He probably got a lollipop with a little bit of salt on top. Oh, you naughty boy. You can have your sugar, but it's gonna be a little salty today. But after the 3rd confession, they decided they needed to talk to their church pastor for guidance. And again, I am laughing a little bit. I'm not, but I'm also laughing because this is just so effing ridiculous. So we need to talk about this church and the leader who they went to advise them.
Symbolizing the rebelliousness of young people in the 60s, not only to their parents, but towards all authorities as well.
Now, the Duggars followed the teachings of Bill Gothard and his Institute in Basic Life Principles, IBLP, an ultra-conservative Christian organization, and they used IBLP's homeschool curriculum called Advanced Training Institute, ATI. Now, we'll get into this garbage human Bill Gothard in a bit, but we need to look at what the basic life principles are. You'd be surprised to learn it's more than just a half-calf macchiato at Starbucks and a live, laugh, love sign. First of all, they teach all the lessons with a biblically based example and a particularly condemning nature. Now, obviously, people who study the Bible and believe that is a part of their faith, who are executing their faith in a healthy manner. Great, wonderful, beautiful, love it. My father actually dedicated his life's work to translating the original Greek and Hebrew text of the Bible. So I have a lot of information and education on all of that. We're not talking about that. Beyond the Bible, they also teach that males are superior, particularly the patriarch, but that women are supposed to obey men in every way, in the home, school, workplace, and marriage, everything, regardless of what the husband does. And it also teaches the parents to keep the outside world completely out, basically. So they are able to control what is around their children at all times growing up. So no movies, internet, TV, popular music, none of that. Remember when I told you that they didn't allow any of that devil's music? Well, thankfully, the IBLP, we're gonna call it the IBLP, Swoop is having a day today. So thankfully, the IBLP has some specifics so we aren't lured into accidentally listening to the devil's music. And Bill Gothard must have no rhythm at all because this literally banned the drums.
The bottom line is that the rhythms and volume of rock music were specifically designed to be the sound of the countercultural, symbolizing the rebelliousness of young people of the 60s, not only to their parents, but towards all authorities as well. The people who created this sound knew what it was and deliberately set out to infect America's young people with it. Rock music always travels in a quartet. Its partners are drugs, immorality, and rebellion.
I'm sorry, it's not funny, but it's funny, you know? Like, the instrument, the drum, you know, drums, like the drums, or this, the drums. Any of them, all of them. Steve, you got drums, get him out of here. Whitney, I see you with them drums, girl. Whitney, are you wearing pants? Can you imagine? I'm sorry, it's a lot, it's a lot, it's a lot. No disrespect meant. But the thing was, like, it's just drums, period. The instrument itself is, I guess, part of the devil. Because even if it was Christian music with a direct Christian message, the drums were not allowed in Christian music, and because that's the work of the devil. So I'm sorry, Mom, I play the drums. My mom also plays the drums. So my mom plays, I play, I guess we're playing the devil's instrument. We will purify ourselves later.
I was taught that rock music or drums in general, like even in Christian music, was bad. And if I listened to that, like praise and worship music with drums, that God could punish me for it because I'm listening to music with drums. Now in the Bible, it says nothing about that. And so I would be terrified that I was gonna be killed in a car accident if I was in a car that was playing that music, right? So I became superstitious. That was also taught in the teaching, that there was a young man who was listening to rock music and was killed in a car accident. So of course, you realize your perspective on life starts to be one of not what is God's word saying, but what was I taught? What does this teacher say I'm supposed to do or not do?
Yes, the cult-like method of control through unrelated actions and consequences, you know, fear and control. You see where this is going, right? So Bill has his followers wallowing around in fear of great consequences, great, huge consequences if they don't obey his commandments. I mean principles. And it's like, even if you unknowingly go against him, you are condemned, which means they are controlled by fear every minute of every day. Oh, and women have to wear ankle-length dresses. Why? Because it was her responsibility to protect the men from having impure thoughts. God forbid men control their own thoughts them damn selves.
Based on Gothard's teaching, I saw it as my responsibility to protect others' moral purity by dressing modestly. I needed to make sure no one stumbled because of my outfit choices. That's why I cared so much about the length of my skirts, even down to the inches. Now that I have walked away from Gothard's teachings, I find this is deeply problematic.
The kids are all homeschooled by the church's homeschooling program and the Advanced Training Institute, or ATI, which of course doubles down on these values. You know, it's a training program for his followers to live in fear and blame women for everything and adhere to this one man's desire to oppress women, probably because of his own moral shortcomings and ineptitudes of controlling his own desires. Oh, and these women are expected to only be good mothers and raise children. They are discouraged from any form of higher education. Remember that coercive control stuff? Limiting access to education is a really big one on that list of abuse. And they're discouraged from any type of career. So when Josh told Jim Bob that he handled his sisters again for the third time, Jim Bob went to the church leader, Bill Gothard, and asked him what to do. Well, wouldn't you know, y'all, you're in luck. Okay, Christina, are you ready for this? All right, Sarah, okay, Victor, okay, Victor, get ready for it. The Institute of Basic Life Principles has a literal pamphlet that deals with just this sort of thing. Swoop, what's in the pamphlet, you might ask? Well, I'm so glad you asked, Jasmine. Victim blaming. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just victim blaming. They have a whole pamphlet about victim blaming. It's printed on paper with ink. Victim blaming. So the pamphlet has explanations like dressing immodestly or your own indecent exposure. In other words, your skirt was probably 1 inch too short. Then it goes on to say that, like, if you were assaulted or something, if that happened and it wasn't your fault due to dressing immodestly or hanging out with the evil friends, then God let it happen to you to build a greater faith or greater love or creativity. Like, creativity is actually a word that's used in there. I just want the actual whole grain gluten-free people. Stop people really hate women. Are you calling being assaulted a blessing? 'Cause yeah, it's not. I know from experience, not a blessing. 10 out of 10, don't recommend. I don't know about this fear-mongering shit, but I do know that blaming the victim is bullshit. And so the guy who wrote up all of this, Bill Gothard, is the guy that Jim Bob goes bobbing and weaving over to talk about his son, Joshy Poo, who repeatedly touched his sisters. Oh, and one other thing I haven't mentioned yet. In 2016, Bill Gothard stepped down from the church he founded. This is shocking. After over 30 women, 30, accused him of SA. All types of SA, from the bad to the really awful. I mean, this asshole covered the entire spectrum of SA. Who could have guessed that that man who built a systemically fear-based cult-like church, who taught women that obedience to men was the most important thing, and who literally printed out victim-blaming literature, would turn out to be an abuser of women himself? I mean, Michelle, did you see that coming? Michelle? Robert?
Yo, killing me with this.
Robert?
I get out 30 years of my career.
Robert?
30 years of my career.
Uh-huh.
I hope this camera keep going.
No, we're gonna
This
let
is
the
not
camera keep
true.
rolling.
So what advice does this troglodyte asshat give to Jim Bob about Josh? Maybe a professional counselor or a therapist? Call the police? Surely after something occurring repeatedly requires some action to protect the 4 daughters, right? What they did is a bit nebulous. Jim Bob will say that they sent Josh off for counseling or to a religious camp.
Because the counseling Josh got in that treatment center, was that the only counseling he ever received? And what about your daughters?
No, Josh actually went and had complete
Professional, yeah.
What did you say?
The real licensed therapist counseling?
Yeah, start over.
Yeah, all of our children receive professional counseling, including Josh, yes. After this, all of our children received professional counseling, including Josh, who paid for his own counseling himself.
From an accredited professional counselor.
But in reality, on Bill Gothard's suggestion, Josh was sent to an IBLP facility that needed some construction work done. And Josh helped doing some of the construction, because nothing says seeking treatment for your son who's repeatedly touching your daughters like plowing some concrete. Now, they send him to the IBLP facility because they were concerned other programs would leave Josh exposed to other offenders and other things they did not want him exposed to. Instead, they opted for a religious program that incorporated hard physical work and counseling. Oh boy, what did SA predator Bill Gothard have to say about his program for Joshy? As for the lust counseling, Joshy received one-on-one counseling to cleanse his sexual thoughts. Josh was put to work helping with the renovations and learning about carpentry, and on the side being instructed spiritually. This involved learning more about the 7 stresses, with lust being one of them. And I'm sure, according to the pamphlet, part of his education would have been that it was all your sisters' faults, right? Because their skirts were like 27 inches and they should have been 28.
Yo, killing me with this.
So yeah, Josh was sent under the guidance of an SA predator to go work on the SA predator's facility and receive counseling based on the SA predator's victim-blaming misogynistic pamphlet. And he's cured.
Did you feel that he was a threat still? Or did you feel
Not at all.
that he could be trusted at that point?
Not at all.
Did you ever worry that the treatment didn't work, especially with so many young children in the house?
No, Josh was a changed person.
You know, Jim Bob, you're gonna regret saying that. And when we learn that Josh is not changed, you bear a great deal of responsibility for trying to sweep this under the rug. Oh wait, you know what? Turns out that Michelle admitted that Josh's counselor was not certified. That's right, Michelle admitted in the police report that the counselor Josh worked with was not certified. And although some of the inappropriate touch happened while the sisters were asleep or in bed, and honestly, hopefully they slept through it and didn't know or understand, but some of the incidents occurred when one of the younger sisters was sitting on Josh's lap. Now, in that same interview, Michelle says that they changed the rules of their house after this.
We don't let boys babysit. We don't let, they don't play hide and seek. Little ones don't sit on big boys' laps or people that you don't know, or even family members, unless it's your daddy.
But we can see clearly here that, well, this is just not true. It's not true at all. Like, what the hell is this?
Who I don't even know at this time is maybe 3 or 4 years old. He's got his hands clasped like, he's like, I don't even know what he's doing with his hands, over his knee and in front of her. And I'm thinking about the interview where Michelle said, we don't have the little ones sitting on the big boys' laps.
Oh my gosh, y'all. Okay, the police report. So in 2015, right in the height of the Duggars hit TV show, rumors of Josh's behavior had been swirling around for a long time, and surprisingly in-depth piece of investigative journalism by In Touch magazine, yes, I said that right, In Touch magazine, used the Freedom of Information Act to get their hands on a police report from 2006 about this whole Josh and his sister's situation. Now, this part is even like more obscure. Like how the police found out was that Josh was courting a family friend's daughter, and Jim Bob and Michelle confided in that family about Josh's actions, and the daughter overheard them talking, and that family immediately cut ties with the Duggars, and the daughter wrote a letter about what she had overheard addressed to her favorite author, but she never mailed it. Instead, she put that letter in a book that was later sent out to another church member, and that person emailed it to Harper Studios, which is Oprah Winfrey's company, right before the Duggars were going to appear on the Oprah Winfrey Show. This is wild. Oprah's team canceled the appearance and handed the letter over to police. So bravo, finally, some adults doing the right thing. And that was also very brave of the daughter. Very young, very, very, very brave of her. Now, the police report includes what was in that email. Before you air the Duggar family from Arkansas with redacted, you need to know the truth. They are not what they seem to be. Josh has touched, the sisters while the sisters were sleeping, and the parents have been hiding the secret for a long time. Jim Bob lies to his church and his friends to make him look good. At this moment, he is in trouble with the church for lying about Josh and things that concern the way the church members reacted. I think that you should know the truth before they make a complete fool of you and your show. They have been on TV before and come across as a perfect family, which couldn't be further from the truth. They jump from show to receive gifts for their family and to make them look really good. Please consider this and confront them about their secret. Well, one thing that Oprah is not is a fool. And Oprah canceled the Duggar, okay? Queen Oprah, long live the queen. Now, the police also shows that when he was asked why he didn't go to the police, Jim Bob says he did talk to the police about this. What? Like, yes, he says that after Josh got back from counseling, plowing concrete, he talked to a Corporal Hutchinson that he knew through a church friend. He admitted to Colonel Hutchins what Josh had done, and Jim Bob, said that Corporal Hutchins gave a very stern talk about what might happen to Josh if he continued such behavior, and James said that Corporal Hutchins told him that since he had already put Josh through a treatment program, there was nothing else to do. Again, y'all just really hate women over there. Now, does that, and girls, and it's not even their children. Now, does that sound like what a police officer would say? Just take Jim Bob's word for it that an unaccredited victim-blaming labor camp pamphlet toting thing was good enough to correct Josh's underage, inappropriate, incessant lust? Well, sure, yeah, that will all make sense now because there's something else that we learn about Joseph T. Hutchins, the Colonel whatever Hutchins, and that is that he was arrested for child P and is now serving a 56-year prison sentence himself. So maybe he did take Josh under his wing, and maybe he did give him a little guidance too. So have you gotten the sense that this entire world could potentially be a breeding ground for male predators? I mean, the homeschooling system run by the church, where they indoctrinate women into this obedient way of life through what I believe is coercive control and actively victim blaming them before they're even victims, then protect the male abuser and literally do nothing to protect the affected family members. I mean, I'm sure this won't turn into a pattern for Josh or anything like that, right? And surely TLC wouldn't then go on to put this family, including Josh, on a reality TV program after Oprah canceled them or something like that, right? Wrong, they did, and for a long time, 19 Kids and Counting was a huge hit on the TLC network. And again, that is until In Touch magazine did their digging in 2015, which would would be the pulling of the yarn that undid the entire Duggar sweater. This led to TLC immediately stopping airing their most successful show and actually canceling it altogether. And although TLC was still interested in monetizing the Duggars, they just had to distance themselves from this SA offender in the bunch, you know, the bad apple. And Jim Bob and Michelle even did a primetime interview with Megyn Kelly about the whole thing.
What would make you launch a reality TV show about your family, given this past?
We had nothing to hide. We had taken care of all that years before.
The media reaction to our exchange was swift and strong.
A lot of times people do an interview in a situation like this to lay the issue to rest, and I think in this case this interview may have even raised more questions.
As a father of 3 little girls, this was a brutal hour of television to watch.
Josh even wrote a public statement talking about it. It took several steps to help me address the situation. We spoke with the authorities where I confessed my wrongdoings, and my parents arranged for me and those affected by my actions to receive counseling. I understood that if I continued down this wrong road, that I would end up ruining my life. I'm reading it like that because you think he's full of shit. But he wasn't wrong on that last sentence, because wait till we get to the rest of the story. Now, obviously, this would all turn out to be a big, massive effing lie, but TLC wasn't done monetizing off of the Duggars, and 5 months later, the Duggars were back on TLC with a new show called Counting On sans Josh.
I think that protecting young girls and not allowing young men and men in general to go into a girls' locker room is just common sense.
Okay, we will get back to Josh in a bit, but first we have to take a look at a parallel here after we find out that amongst all of this other crap that Michelle Duggar, mom, recorded super transphobic robocalls that went out all over the northern district of Arkansas, and well, here, just listen.
Hello, this is Michelle Duggar. I'm calling to inform you of some shocking news that will affect the safety of Northwest Arkansas women and children. The Fayetteville City Council is voting on an ordinance this Tuesday night that would allow men, yes, I said men, to use women's and girls' restrooms, locker rooms, showers, sleeping areas, and other areas that are designated for females only. I don't believe the citizens of Fayetteville would want males with past child predator convictions that claim they are female to have a legal right to enter private areas reserved for women and girls. We should never place the preference of an adult over the safety and innocence of a child. Will you speak up for protecting women and children?
In that same Megyn Kelly interview, the Duggars can't seem to see how their transphobic views are exactly what they are defending their son of doing.
How could you unfairly, in their view, compare transgendered people to child or suggest they are child knowing what you know about Josh?
I think you actually said on that, and actually a is an adult that preys on children. Joshua was actually 14 and just turned 15 when he did what he did. And I think the legal definition is 16 and up for being an adult preying on a child. So he was a child preying on a child.
You do not view Josh as a pedophile?
No.
And Jib Bob thinks that the year between 15 and 16 is the line that divides regular S offenders from the child S offenders. Well, yeah, everything I say here is allegedly, but not really, because it's been proven in a court of law. We'll get to that. Let's see, what else?
More about, there's an agenda, and there's people that are purposing to try to bring things out and twisting them to hurt and slander.
Bitch! Just shut your mouth.
This is important to us, and we're not going to check our beliefs out at the door of our church or the place of worship. We're going to take those principles and those beliefs into our daily life.
Okay, Petty University, we might just have to just fully classes in session officially, because we about to dig into Ashley Madison, and this shit is, oh, it's funny and it's just tragic and all of the things.
Why do I run faster than I did yesterday? Why do I never quit?
I just don't want to get caught.
Hey, you there!
So remember how TLC canceled the show because of Josh's previous child abuse was exposed by, you know, super journalist at In Touch magazine in 2015, and the Duggars said that Josh had received lust counseling, blah, 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 blah. You remember that because we just talked about it like 2 minutes ago. Remember how it was all better? Like he was good now? Like he was reformed? Everything's good? Well, a few years after all of that, Josh gets married in 2008 to a woman named Anna, both age 20 at the time, and they start having kids as the Duggars do. I mean, it's her job description. If you're gonna marry into this family, bitch, you better open wide and get ready. So by May 2015, when the In Touch magazine article came out, Josh and Anna, people say it a million different ways. Anna already had 4 children. And well, there was something else that was going on that would be exposed in August of 2015, and that was the Ashley Madison leak. So there was this website called Ashley Madison that was a dating/hookup site for married people to have affairs.
Life is short. Have an affair.
They sold it as a private and confidential and safe, so their secrets were safe. Their spouses wouldn't find out. Well, it turns out some people didn't like the business practices of Ashley Madison, not only because of the questionable morality of the service, but also that Ashley Madison made users pay to delete their profiles. So if you created a profile, you had to pay to get it off, to get it deleted. It's almost a brilliant marketing plan, but they would then also keep their personal information like forever. And so the people who were unhappy about this were a group of hackers who called themselves the Impact Team, and they demanded that Ashley Madison shut down their site, which Ashley Madison, of course, did not do. She's a stingy bitch, but they probably wished that they had, because the Impact Team hacked the site and released all of the user's information. All of it, okay, Chelsea? All of it came out, all right? Cassandra, get ready, because it's coming, okay? The Duggars be doing it, and now Ashley Madison be coming as well, okay? Thank you, I'm here all night. Look, drums, oh devil's instrument. Wow, we're on a roll today. And by releasing all of this information, I mean all, including names, email addresses, payment transaction details, and in some cases, very sensitive sexual preferences. So guess who was on that list? Josh freaking Duggar McDugdug was on the list, and he had not 1, but 2 Ashley Madison accounts, okay? He's an overachiever in the cheating affair game. Yeah, Josh paid a total of $986.76 because I am a thorough bitch for 2 separate Ashley Madison subscriptions between February 2013 and May 2015 with the usernames Josh the Man and Ready for This DC, which you can guess what DC stands for. Now, he was living in Washington, DC at the time while he was the executive director for the Family Research Council, a conservative lobbying group.
Saying this is important to us, and we're not going to check our beliefs out at the door of our church or at the place of worship. We're going to take those principles and those beliefs into our daily lives, and we're going to live those things out, and it's quite admirable.
But instead of thinking that the DC stands for Washington, DC, I like to think of it as ready for this dumbass choice. Sorry, not sorry. So let's see what Josh had on his list of turn-ons. Now, no one wants to read this list, okay? Especially his wife, Anna, but we have to, right? I mean, the hackers did so much work to leak it, we have to. So, professional, well-groomed, stylish, classy, casual jeans, t-shirt type, muscular fit body, petite figure, tall height, short height, long hair, short hair. I mean, it sounds like it just doesn't matter. Girl next door, naughty girl, sense of humor, imagination, creative and adventurous, relaxed and easygoing, aggressive, take charge, nature, confident, discretion, secrecy, good listener, good personal hygiene, average S drive, high S drive, average or high, doesn't matter, dislikes routine, has a secret love nest, disease-free, drug-free, I like how disease-free is like the last on your list, drug-free, and natural bazooms. Now, the funny thing about that is most of those, if not like all of those qualities, sound like a liberated woman who has not been controlled by someone and who gets to wear pants. But did you notice, has a secret love nest for him to get away from Anna and his 4 kids at the time. That was listed as a turn on for him. So, Okay, maybe we shouldn't have read that. Now, this would be a good time to mention that Josh paid an extra $250 to Ashley Madison for their affair guarantee, because that's a thing, or it was a thing. And we also need to bring up that once this data was leaked, one of the email accounts that Josh used was also linked to an OkCupid account where Josh was catfishing using the first picture, I kid you not. Woo, this is why I'm petty today. This bitch used the first picture that popped up when Googling, and I quote, random guy. No, I'm serious. In 2013 or like whenever he created that OkCupid account, this guy's picture came up. We know this because the random guy sued Josh for using his photo. I am on team random guy all day long. Okay, random guy, you get a petty everything. Okay, honorary doctorate. You better sue that bitch for using your picture. I'm sorry, my voice, I will bring it down. So, are we getting the general idea of what a morally bankrupt, hypocritical piece of shit Josh is yet? Don't worry, it gets much worse.
Why would a man who helped build a multi-million-dollar TV empire play so fast and loose with family values?
Okay, so Josh, he admits he cheated on his wife and steps down from the Family Research Council. In a statement on the Duggar family website, Josh calls himself the biggest hypocrite ever. He was unfaithful to his wife, he broke his fans' trust again. Oh, and at first he said that he was addicted to corn. Do you know how stupid I feel that I have to call it corn here? Whatever, corn. I like corn, you like corn, we all like corn. It's great in a tortilla. Anyways, he had released a statement saying he was addicted to said corn, but he then edited that part out after originally posting it. Like, he edited his original statement about 3 or 4 times. Nothing says genuine like editing constantly. Oh, and one more thing. Josh was active on the Ashley Madison account on May 17th while Anna was pregnant with their 5th child. Whoo, child, random guy. I hope on behalf of Anna and everyone, you take him for all that he's worth. So, Anna, I'm just like, I'm not gonna tell you what to do in your marriage, and you got kids, but maybe it was time to cut your losses. Oh wait, what's that?
Sources, Anna will not leave him. And get this, she blames herself, in part, for Josh having an account on the notorious Ashley Madison cheating website.
Well, of course she blames herself. She just had to look up the Bill Gothard victim-blaming literature to see how to deal with this challenge, then realize that she probably didn't obey her man enough, or, you know, get those knee pads freshly polished. Really, really, really sad to see women blame themselves for stuff like this.
When I got married, I vowed to God first, and then to Joshua, for better or for worse, till death do we part. And God has unfailing love for me, and He's loved me and forgiven me of so much. And I pray that through all this, that I would be an extension of God's love to Joshua, and that I would love him and forgive him, and that I would wait patiently and allow God to work in our hearts. And my prayer and my heart's desire is for a marriage to be restored.
I mean, I don't hold anything against her. I feel awful for her. All of the women, even Michelle to certain extents, you know, they've just been indoctrinated in something that is so toxic for women. And I just, my heart actually just goes out to them. Now, I think we need to take a break from Josh for a moment because it just keeps going. But first, one last thing for Josh in 2015. So in August, an adult film star sued him. Yes, you heard that correctly. Adult film star Danica Dillon claimed that she had intimate relations with Josh on 2 occasions and that he actually got violent with her.
In all honesty, though it was consensual, it more or less felt like I was being. He was tossing me around like a rag doll, forcing me to go into positions.
She filed the lawsuit for $500,000 in damages after she was working at a gentleman's club, and Josh propositioned her to take her back to his hotel room for $1,500 after he had already paid her $600 in lap dances that night. So she claims that he got violent with her and then only paid her $1,000. And a month later, he tried to apologize, but she says that was just a guise for him to assault her a second time.
He walked up to me and he goes, "I am so sorry for the things that I did to you." He actually was a completely different person the second time. I mean, he was a little rough.
I'm telling y'all, if you're in a situation with someone who is violent with you, if they come to apologize to you after they've been violent, especially if this is in a new relationship or a new encounter, I'm gonna err on the side of don't believe them and don't give them a second chance. And I know it can be very complicated and all of that, but it is not a good sign, and just please trust and believe that you deserve to feel safe, period.
Her new book, Becoming Free Indeed, my story of disentangling faith from fear, chronicling her departure from the strict Christian teachings she says caused her to suffer from perfectionism, eating disorders.
As the Duggar children grew older and left the family home after they were married, of course, like to start, big ass families of their own, there was a phenomenon that Jim Bob may not have had the foresight to predict. The Duggar children would eventually be exposed to the outside world. Welcome. And this world would not line up with the very tiny perspective they were allowed to see growing up. Maybe it started happening when they realized that drums were not the devil's instrument, or that the first time, one of the girls accidentally tried on pants. God forbid these girls out here just putting one leg in and the second leg. I mean, the audacity. Now, Jill Duggar, which was one of Josh's sister victims, hate saying that, and her husband, Derek Dillard, are now estranged from the Duggars, and she started talking about her growing up and the issues within the Duggar family. Now, a side note here that must be addressed, her husband, Derek, is super transphobic. Like shocking, I know, but while I'll be discussing some of the things that he said about Jim Bob and the Duggars, I want you to be super clear. I absolutely do not in any way support him or his hate speech. It's disgusting. I don't know why people still do this. And it just shows that just because one side is wrong does not make the other side right, when they can both be wrong and manipulative and hateful and gross and also disagree with each other and just also be terrible to everyone else. Now, anyways, Derek publicly wrote some really nasty, hateful tweets about Jazz Jennings, who is also on the TLC network, and said absolutely atrocious things that I'm honestly not even going to repeat here. Anyways, people were very much against Derek, and TLC did not like the heat, and they quietly fired Derek. Now, Derek says that he stepped away from the show, probably, one of those, you can't fire me because I quit, kind of deals, but eventually TLC tweeted, "We want to let our viewers know that Derek Dillard has not participated in Counting On for months, and the network has no plans to feature him in the future. We want to reiterate that Derek's personal statements do not reflect the views of the network." Are you sure about that, TLC? TLC is proud to share the story of Jazz Jennings and her family, and will continue to do so. But I'm just like, hold up, okay? Did TLC only distance themselves because Derek was attacking someone on a show on their network? They didn't seem to do anything after Michelle Duggar robocalled the entire voting population of Fayetteville, Arkansas, so they are definitely willing to profit off of those obviously problematic Duggars and toddlers and tiaras and Honey Boo Boo, John and Kate Blase breaking on all of that, sister, all that stuff, no problem. So the views of the network, as they say, are murky, let's just say, and this is all leading to the revelation that none of the Duggar children were paid to be on the show.
Also, up until around the time we left the show, we hadn't been paid for anything. Of course, there were perks that came along with filming, if you were traveling or whatever, they might cover those expenses and stuff. And we were grateful for those, but yeah, we hadn't been paid until we were really pressing about it, and ended up getting an attorney involved and stuff.
In the end, it probably ended up being a little bit more than minimum wage at most.
Yeah,
we were able to recover at least something.
Yeah.
That's right. They had been on television for 16 years of their life. I almost fell off my table just now. Without their consent, with all of their growing pains cemented into the internet for eternity, and they weren't paid a single penny. But I mean, that must be incorrect, right? I mean, they were on TV for 16 years. Surely the network has to like do so. They have child labor laws, all that. Yeah, you know, wouldn't that be illegal? Well, quote, for a long time, Jill and I were under the impression that the family didn't make any money from the show, but rather it was presented to us kids as something that was done as a ministry that TLC periodically subsidized in the form of reimbursements for things like gas, restaurants, travel, etc., but not any actual pay on top of that. So TLC's contract with the Duggars was only with Jim Bob, or potentially a company set up by Jim Bob, and Jim Bob negotiated all of the deals with TLC on behalf of all of the Duggars and without any of them knowing. So TLC pays Jim Bob, and he is responsible for paying out the family members, which he didn't, and apparently led them to believe that their forced participation in their life being filmed for 16 years, that it was all part of volunteer ministry work. This is clearly so morally bankrupt that Jim Bob probably thinks that the money is rightly his, and he is, you know, the patriarch, and he has also probably ran everything by that misogynist victim-blaming essay, you know, predator Bill Gothard. Jim Bob chooses to have an unmanageable number of children that he's not there and present and helping raise. The children are raising the other children, then forces them to be on TV, and he makes money off of all of them. They make nothing. These childhoods are void of privacy. There's no environment to make mistakes without a digital footprint of it for the world to see. You know, making mistakes is a crucial part of growing up, and to have the ability to learn from them and move past them is crucial to becoming a well-adjusted adult. And these children were not allowed that opportunity, which is crushing. And you know, now Jill has a nose piercing. And you know what else? She wears pants sometimes. Go Jill. And as, you know, milquetoast as Derek appears on video, he can get hot behind a keyboard on a family friend's Facebook post talking about Jim Bob's run for state senate. Yes, Jim Bob kept trying to be a politician. Don't worry, he lost the election. But Derek wrote, I used to have much respect for Jim Bob as my father-in-law, and I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt for years. Unfortunately, it's only become clearer to us over time just how deep this man's manipulation and deceit will go on for his own gain at the expense of others. Now, according to Derek, Jim Bob has lied to him and Jill numerous times. When confronted privately, he is not humble, but he is defensive and verbally abusive. And Derek continued, when he says that he cannot be bought, the truth is that he has a history of being a sellout to anything that he can personally profit from, and he will justify it however he wants to continue his personal agenda. Again, if he has lied and continues to lie to his best friends and his own family, will he lie to you? And Jill felt very similarly, which we find out from an unsealed court docs where Jill states, I saw a whole new side to my dad once my husband and I started making decisions that were best for our family, but not in his best interest. Sadly, I realized he had become pretty controlling, fearful, and reactionary. He was verbally abusive. Our relationship is not good. It got pretty toxic. We occasionally text on a family group thread, but I don't feel comfortable being around him and just hanging out. It isn't good for my mental health right now. And she goes on to say, we pretty much only see him right now at weddings and funerals. I think sometimes he wishes he would just get over it and go back to how things used to be, doing things his way. When I see him at weddings and stuff, he is cordial, but I wouldn't want to try to talk things out with him in a smaller setting. Plus, there are just too many triggers and stuff for me to have to process after being around him. It's emotionally taxing, and I don't have the energy right now. Bless Jill for everything that she's been going through. Now, Jill is not the only one. Ginger has also criticized the religion they were brought up in by her parents, so much that she wrote a book.
Her new book, Becoming Free Indeed, my story of disentangling faith from fear, chronicling her departure from the strict Christian teachings she says caused her to suffer from perfectionism, eating disorders, and panic attacks.
It was very destructive because it was based on fear, superstition, manipulation, and control. And so I needed to be freed from those things.
So as the Duggar clan becomes adults and cracks start to reveal themselves, we have to finally address the giant crevice that the Duggars continually minimized, protected, and nurtured until it had grown into a full-blown monster.
And I'm not going to say anything that's going to
we don't
incriminate me or anything at all. I don't want to. I'm not I'm not denying guilt, and I'm not saying that I'm.
In 2019, Josh's used car lot was raided by Homeland Security, and while most people thought it was about a money-moving scandal Josh was previously involved with, which, like, honestly, we don't have time to get into, but that is a thing, the Duggars released a statement calling it fake news. Love it when people say that. Fake news. Quote, "We were shocked to see a news report today state that our home was raided by federal law enforcement agencies. This is not true. To the best of our knowledge, it is also not true that any member of our family is the target of any investigation of any kind. Living a life in the public's eye has taught us that it's best not to reply to every rumor and piece of fake news that is circulated online." Okay, so Duggars up to usual Duggery Doug shit, right? So, you know, cover up, lie, protect Josh. Allegedly, but also. Now, because this could not be further from the truth, and what is extra terrifying about this is that Josh is now the father of 7 children at this time. And with his extremely problematic past, it makes you wonder, have any of those children been abused? And sadly, I'd say the odds are pretty grim. On April 29th, 2021, Josh was arrested for child P connected to his business computer.
But we're part of a specialized task force, and that task force is called the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force.
Yep.
Based on an ongoing investigation, one of our task force affiliates in the Eastern District was able to directly connect to a certain IP address that was participating in the uploading and sharing of known videos and images of child pornography.
I have quite a few questions about it, but I don't know, how much you can divulge. But I'm curious. You're saying there's images being uploaded or images being downloaded?
That the IP address from this lot had child associated to it in a peer-to-peer software program.
And I'm not going to say anything that's going to
we don't
incriminate me or anything at all. I don't want to. I'm not I'm not denying guilt, and I'm not saying that I'm. As far as anything goes, I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Right. Okay. Have you ever used or do any of these electronics currently on the property have any of those types of software downloaded onto them?
Yes.
Which devices are we talking about?
Probably all of them.
The computer forensics specialist who examined his computer quickly saw that Josh had partitioned his hard drive into 2 sides. One side operating on Windows 10, which ran the used car lot business, and it was like complete with software called Covenant Eyes, which is an internet accountability app to help people with corn addiction by sending internet usage reports to an accountability partner, which was Josh's wife in this case. Why would you have that on your computer if he was cured? The other side of that hard drive was, remember, partitioned in 2, that's one side. The other side of that hard drive uses a Linux operating system and was set up for downloading and viewing child P. This literally partitions, let me pretend I'm accountable to my own, but also I'm doing all of the things. Now, using a Tor browser, which is how one would access the infamous dark web, where you can order, bad things. The investigator was able to place Josh at the computer at the exact times that child P was being downloaded to, which often corresponded to text messages from Josh to his wife saying he would be coming home late or got stuck at the car lot. They literally investigated and timestamped his text saying, "Gonna be late, sweetie," at the same time that the child P was accessed on his computer, okay? And this bitch is literally right now as we speak trying to open up new investigation and blame like its coworker or something. We're not gonna even entertain that trash. Now, Agent Faulkner said that the material was some of the worst that he had ever seen over his long career, if you can imagine what that person has seen. Blah, blah, blah. Josh is convicted because Josh did it, okay? He done did it. Of course he did. He's been headed down this path for over 20 years. Jim Bob, Michelle, y'all saw this shit. No one did anything. Plow that cement, Joshy boy. Let's see how that works out. And, they just kind of BS their way through all of this. And now look.
Did you feel that he was a threat still, or did you feel
Not at all.
that he could be trusted at that point?
Not at all.
Did you ever worry that the treatment didn't work, especially with so many young children in the house?
No. No, Josh was a changed person.
Well, during Josh's sentencing, multiple family members and a friend wrote lengthy letters to the judge about how kind-hearted and compassionate a family man Josh Duggar was. And his mom, Michelle, wrote, "Joshua has a tender heart and he is compassionate towards others. If someone is having a difficult time, he is one of the first to encourage or try to help them in a tangible way." Yeah, tangible, right. Joshua has always been a positive and upbeat person. He is a good provider for his family, working diligently and thinking of creative ways to support and take care of his wife and children. He is also generous and shares his resources with others in need. You know, I understand to an extent a mother defending their children for doing awful things, but you gotta draw the line somewhere. You can love someone from afar, but also be like, yeah, he doesn't need to be out around his kids. It's okay to say that and still love your child, you know? Now, his wife, Anna, also wrote a letter, remember, at the very beginning of this whole documentary? I said to picture that you were her. She wrote about her and Josh meeting and how much she admired Josh and their wonderful marriage. "Joshua has worked hard to provide for me and our now 7 children, but the happiest part of the day is by far when Daddy comes home from work and his cheerful voice fills the house. Hey guys, how's it going? What did you learn about in school today?" are usually the conversation starters in between greeting each of our children. Joshua is an engaged dad who gladly throws a football with his sons, listens to our daughters play a new song they have learned on the piano, helps answer homework questions, and lends a hand sweeping up spilled crackers. He is a kind, loving, supportive, and caring father and husband, his primary focus in life. But here's the thing, Duggars, y'all left out a bunch of shit, didn't you? Like, just pretended like none of this happened. Like, you left that out on multiple occasions for like 20 years, you know, about his sisters, that he was catfishing OkCupid while married, the children, Ashley Madison, let's not forget, Josh the Man, ready for this DC, not 1 but 2 accounts, and paying for 2 nights with an adult film star and allegedly being abusive, and all the while shoving this holier-than-thou false righteousness down your throats as the executive director of the Family Research Council. Yeah! Some family research will show you that Josh is the pissiest, poorest example. Put that in your pamphlet. Now, Josh is a predator. I gotta say allegedly, but also he's been convicted. He's a predator. And they just allowed him to bloom into the full-blown worst version of himself. Maybe some intervention would have prevented this. And it's just like, y'all really thought the judge would look at those letters and not see the absolute lack of accountability? You didn't even mention the actual crimes against children in these letters. Remember, the worst material Agent Faulkner had ever seen in his 10-12 years and 1,000 cases? Well, the judge did not. Josh was sentenced to 12.5 years in federal prison.
My name is Clay Folks. I'm the United States Attorney for the Western District of Arkansas. Today it's my honor and privilege to participate in the announcement of the sentence in the United States versus Josh Duggar.
The exceptional efforts by HSI special agents, computer forensics personnel, and our law enforcement partners, a child has been brought to justice today.
Okay, I need a massive pile of kitties to cleanse my whole soul after this one. Oh, the babies, aren't they just the cutest? I just love them so much. Remember, y'all can grab your Petty University apparel. It is linked below, and join the community. Okay, we keep it ready. We keep it petty over here. A couple of Twitter shoutouts from my last doc, the many shady faces of Kim Kardashian and the Kardashians. If you haven't seen it, it is linked below. It is one of my favorites that I have done on the channel. There is so much going on there. Very informative, big deep dive, fun, all of that stuff. Check it out. First shout out goes to Amber Waves, who says, I love that name, by the way, a must-watch video dissecting the endless, unapologetic cultural appropriation of the Kardashians and the very real harm from it. Still seething over Sarah's story and that photo shoot. Thank you, Swoop, for your analysis and the on-point petty. Listen, I'm glad that you found that one insightful, hopefully entertaining as well. And yeah, we keep the petty coming. Second shout out goes to Darial, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who says, I truly couldn't believe some of the things I learned tonight. I am disgusted and so thankful for your amazingly researched context. I always leave wanting to know more. Thank you for being an honest source of media. I don't know what I would do without my Spanky V videos. Thank you so much. That means so much to me, y'all. I'm keep doing these, and I'm just so grateful to have every single one of you spending a bit of your time with me every single week. I know how precious your time is. It really does mean a lot. If you want to be my next Twitter shout out, make sure to follow me on Twitter at SpankyV, linked below, and retweet this video right here. Also hit me up on Instagram, linked in the description. That's where I post most often and respond to a lot of DMs. Huge thank you again to Raycon for sponsoring this doc, and be sure to check the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/swoop to get 15% off your Raycon purchase and to rate yourself, honey, you deserve it. While the Duggars may have their fans, I think it's important to remember that their lifestyle is not something to be celebrated or emulated. We should instead use their story as an opportunity to raise awareness about the dangers of coercive control and parentification, misogyny, and the need for better protections for children. I feel like there cannot be a clearer case of how effed up this type of exploitation and manipulation is than Josh Duggar and the television networks who make deals with the devils behind this family's teachings. Remember, this was all for profit at the end of the day, all for one man's profit, which has me wondering, how does someone put a price on the safety and protection of their children? Now, the parents might not have equal responsibility with what like Josh ultimately has done, but they do have a ton of it. By continually protecting Josh for years, they taught him that this behavior was okay. It makes me think that Jim Bob and Michelle misrepresented what Josh did to his sisters and constantly protected Josh instead of protecting them from Josh. And while I understand people wanting to tune in for the entertainment, I don't think most people really understand the darker nuances and how dangerous and damaging this type of exploitation can be long-term for kids as they grow up in this. Remember, these kids were in this for 16 years on camera. Now, y'all already know, I've said it a grillion times, people like this don't have power or influence if we don't give it to them, right? They feed off of people tuning in so that they can sell that airtime and peddle their warped bullshit onto the unsuspecting audiences. If we don't tune in, if we call it what it is, abusive, then maybe the influence of the Duggars and people like them will start to crumble and the families will be a little safer. But you know, when all else fails, stay ready, stay petty, class dismissed. Swoop!